King's Gambit vs E captures f4. Part 2. White pawn to e4. Black pawn to e5. White pawn to f4. Black pawn captures white pawn on f4. White knight from g1 to f3. Black pawn to d5. White pawn captures black pawn on d5. Black queen captures white pawn on d5. White knight from b1 to c3. Black queen to e6 check. White bishop to e2. Black bishop to d6. White king castles kingside. Black knight from g8 to f6. White bishop to b5 check. Black pawn to c6. White rook to e1. Black king castles kingside. White rook captures black queen on e6. Black bishop captures white rook on e6. White pawn to d4. Black pawn captures white bishop on b5. White knight captures black pawn on b5. Black rook to d8. White knight captures black bishop on d6. Black rook captures white knight on d6. White bishop captures black pawn on f4. Black rook to d8. White pawn to b3. Black knight from b8 to d7. White pawn to c4. Black bishop to f5. White queen to d2. Black knight to e4. White queen to b4. Black pawn to a5. White queen to b5. Black bishop to g6. White rook to e1. Black knight to c3. White queen captures black pawn on b7. Black knight captures white pawn on a2. White bishop to c7. Black rook to c8. White rook to a. Black knight to b4. White rook captures black pawn on a5. Black rook captures white rook on a5. White queen captures black rook on c8 check. Black knight to f8. White bishop captures black rook on a5. And after this move, black Resigned.